Greetings and salutations. Happy Tuesday. Welcome to our monthly Edgar Cayce on. Tonight, diet and health. Couple of words of advisement. One, we had a very successful retreat a couple of weeks ago with Dr. J.P. Amante from Virginia Beach. This isn't going to be as thorough or as in-depth as he is, because he had 2 days and we've got 2 hours. So it's going to be more of a high-level view of diet and health. But we have the Dora with us tonight. Dora's been with the ARE here in Arizona now actively, very actively I may add, for about the last year. And she is going to present the second part of our presentation tonight. Dora is a registered nurse working at John C. Lincoln North Mountain. So a lot of what Cayce was talking about 100 years ago, she sees today. And she's going to provide her insight on a very key part of Cayce's healing concepts. So we're very excited to have her on board with us. Finally adding some class to the show here. You know, John and I just kind of get, ragged around the edges here. This presentation is our interpretation thereof. We are looking at the Cayce readings and presenting them to you for your edification. This is what we interpret out of them, how we see them. We encourage everybody to go in and get involved in the readings themselves. See what it means to you, because that's where the true meanings will come from. We're not dealing with absolutes. Each will find to their own what it is that is important, take from the readings. Start off with a high level of why we are sick. Understanding illness and dis-ease. Cayce was asked in the 3395 readings about ill health. The question was posed, is the ill health which I have been experiencing the past years the result of mistakes of a past life, or is it due to something amiss in this present life? Cayce responded, both. For there is the law of the material, there is the law of the mental, there is the law of the spiritual. That brought into materiality is first conceived in spirit. Hence, as we have indicated, all illness is sin. Not necessarily of the moment as man counts time, but as part of the whole experience. Well, that's interesting. It seems that we have illnesses that may or may not have anything to do with our lifestyle. We need to recognize that a lot of our illnesses that we experience in life are, in fact, to our own doing. When it comes to health, a very key concept that is spoken about throughout the Cayce readings is you're going to reap what you sow. And when it comes into healing and health in general, we have choices. We choose to drink and smoke and overindulge and not exercise and do the things that we shouldn't be doing, then we're going to reap what we sow. Human free will. Strongest force in the universe. And when it comes to healing, eventually we got to pay the piper. And we go. Question, since all disease is caused by sin, exactly what sin causes the colon and elimination condition? The sin of neglect. Neglect is just as much sin as grudge, as jealousy. Neglect. We don't often think of certain behavior patterns as of being sinful. And this is a very interesting one Because if you think about what neglect is, it is a choice where one person may be neglecting something in and of themselves, or neglecting another relationship. And it goes against spiritual law. Consequently, the seeds are sown to get sick. I found this to be quite interesting, because like most, I never thought of neglect to be a sinful thing that could cause illness. But obviously I was wrong. Something for us all to think about. How does healing occur? Well, Cayce was quite specific about certain things. All healing is from the divine within and not from medications. Medications only attune or accord a body for the proper reactions from the elemental forces of divinity within each corpuscle, each cell, each muscle, each activity of every atom of the body itself. That's very, very interesting to me, because Cayce was never really big on medications per se, simply because it allowed people to be somewhat lazy. Take a pill, everything is fine. As opposed to doing those things which needed to be done within so as to create the healing. But every bit of our body, and this isn't the only reading in which Cayce talks about this, but every body, every cell, even down to the smallest part of the atomic structure of the human body, has a purpose and a desire. And it's to do that which it was created to do. And when we start to get into healing, we feel and we can see the concepts of cooperation in play. Because how many times, if we are ailing in one part of our body or another, does our bodies compensate? Will compensate for one way or the other if something is hurting us, or if we're sick. The bodies will react within in a spirit of cooperation. Everything is a mirror. Cooperation, chapter 1, search for God, for very good reason. Because if the bodies do it in here, then maybe we should do it without. I love how Cayce wove all of these concepts in together. True healing. Lasting healing comes from changing the inner consciousness and vibrations. Desires, purposes, and wills must be changed. Pills allow us to skip this step. Here, we have got to have the desire. Has to be upon us, within us, not of ourselves, but in concert with the divine. If all healing comes from the divine, then we need to focus our efforts internally, mentally, spiritually, physically, to align with the divine in order to channel the healing to us. And it comes down to having a purpose. And as you will see here, what this is telling us is that things must be changed. Our will must be changed. What is it that we do which is not for our better health? There's things that we all do. When it must change the will, the purpose, and the desires, we have to ask ourselves, is that which I am doing being done for myself, or is it being done for the betterment of others? Oftentimes it'll be the former, at which time now change comes into play. But lasting healing, we've got to change our consciousness, change the way we think, change our vibrations, our internal vibrations, because we are all electrical beings together. 1289:2. Remember, applications, physical or mechanical applications, or medications, or such active forces are an expression of the divine, as must be the prayers and meditations of those if they would bring help to the body. Here we are being counseled that obviously if we want to be healed from whatever ails us, prayer and meditations will indeed help. But Cayce is also telling us that if we opt for a medicinal healing outlet, then prayers and meditations should be tailored and styled as such so that we're able to activate the divine forces that actually created those medications. Because where did those medications come? Somebody who had a thought, somebody who has skill, somebody made them. Somebody who has a purpose here on this earth just as we do to align themselves with God. So though Cayce wasn't really big on medications, in this day and age it's quite hard to get away from them in a lot of ways. It quite honestly is. But it doesn't mean that we cannot turn that into a positive impulse for us and try to spiritualize that which we are taking. Maybe we ask the blessing for this little pill to do that which would be for the betterment of our body as we see. I've got into the habit over the last few years of trying to do just that. But I also have got to learn to defer as opposed to be Dr. Bobbitt and let God heal me as He sees I have need for. Not, well, please get rid of this, this, and this, Trust me, He knows what's going on. He don't need any help. We're talking the master physician here, so very little that I can add to the diagnosis. However, I can and must contribute to the healing. It's a two-way street. We're starting to get into vibratory forces. We are electrical fields. We are all vibrating. We can't see it because it's outside of our sensory perception, but we are. When we are ill, we are out of tune, and our vibratory forces are at a disharmony with God. We must change our vibrational frequencies. And it can be done. This also comes down into the creation portion of how we got here. When we first entered, our souls entered in to the earth plane. We were very, very electrified, very high vibratory beings. But then the longer we stayed down here, and the more we indulged in self-gratification and things of the appetites and the senses, the slower our vibrations became. And it got to the point where the vibrations now, we're stuck here. We are vibrating, but at a very, very low frequency compared to that which we have done previously. Also, if you will think back into the resurrection in Scripture, Mary Magdalene was counseled, do not touch me. Why? Because Jesus was vibrating at an extremely high frequency. For her to do it in her state would have been terminal. Which is why He said, stay, do not come near. Think electrical rather than chemical. A poor health regimen over time hinders the electrical nerve pulses of the body. Without the correct directions being transmitted through the nervous system, the rest of the bodily systems are unable to function in harmony. What happens when we have a blockage? Does the flow kind of stop? Yes, it does. It stops, and perhaps it spreads out elsewhere. This is very similar to what we're seeing here. With our electrical bodies, by slowing down, we're not able to take the energized charge throughout it, and that things become stagnant. One of the things that I do find interesting, with especially the first statement there, think electrical rather than chemical. Well, what are we trying to do today? Better living through chemistry? Right? Got to go hit the drugs, you know. It's amazing. My brother-in-law recently was feeling rather poorly. So they run down and go see the cardiologist and stuff. And they discontinued 3 medications, and voila, he's a lot better. Now, I'm not sure what he's got going on the electrical side of things, but again, chemicals have a tendency to interact with ourselves because there's a change that happens within us. And if you look around society, we see a lot of things happening, and it doesn't get a lot of press. But a lot of people who do bad things in the world that are perceived as bad oftentimes have some sort of chemical dependency or on certain chemicals that could change the way they act. Unfortunately, when you have the major drug companies responsible for the majority of television and print advertising, not going to get a lot of news coverage, is it? They don't want to kill the cash cow. And this is kind of how it works here. On the left-hand side, we can see that we are at disharmony. We have things going each and every way, and we don't have any sense of order or flow. But once we partake of prayer and meditation, we are able to change all of our pointers to get going in the right way. Now we have a flow that will be more energized as opposed to trying to change directions every time it hits something. It's not, we have continuity. And this is much better for us because now we have the energized flow through us. And when we start to do that, we actually start to feel better. Gladys Davis Turner's cousin, Mildred, asked, please give a definition of vibration in relation to healing. Vibration is, in its simple essence or word, raising the Christ consciousness in self to such an extent as it may flow out of self to him that would direct it to. We talked about attunement earlier. This is starting to get into the attunement. When we start to raise our consciousness, our Christ consciousness, our Christ spirit within us, to put forth love, to put forth fruits of the Spirit to our fellow man, for the right reason, we start to change. When we do our meditations, if we stay in tune with it, we can actually sometimes, at least I can, feel bodily changes. I can feel energy flows within me, knowing that I'm in here. And then there's actually times where I just feel like I'm going shaking. And it's interesting because it's a really nice feeling. And it leads into quite a deep meditation. But it comes down into raising the Christ consciousness within to do his work on this plane as he sees we could have need for. When we start doing that, and that becomes the intent, then we are letting the energy flow out of ourselves to whom that may need. Know that all strength, all healing of every nature is the changing of the vibrations from within, the attuning of the divine, within the living tissue of a body to creative energies. This alone is healing. An offshoot of the Cayce Norfolk study groups was the Glad Helpers. And these were a group of folks who wanted intentionally to go and help others with healing. And they had several readings. I want to say it was up in the 60s. I don't know the exact number, but they are the 281 readings. And it talks a lot about not only this, but there's a variety of topics in those 281 readings that are very, very good. And if you go in there and read those, it talks about not only healing themselves, but how they are able to provide healing assistance to other people, because that was what they wanted to do. It was how they wanted to take the Cayce work to the next level that they could potentially do, and they wanted to be using the Cayce readings as the guidelines to do it. That was their intent, and it was a fabulous thing. But there's a lot of good readings in there, and this is what we're doing. We're changing ourselves. And if you think about it, if we change ourselves away from the I, me, my into other folks first, then we're starting to get the picture. Because it's not about us. It's always about us being able to be of service to another. And when we take the focus away from the I, me, my, with the intent to go forward and be of service to other people, we then are starting to change our vibrations. We are able to raise the Christ consciousness within ourselves. Oh, sigh. Personal responsibility with respect to healing. Well, this ought to be a hoot. What we are looking for here, we're trying to, when we do this, with respect to how are we going to approach healing ourselves, the first thing we must do is own up to it. We got to own that we can, in fact, have a great deal of control over that which we do. Then we got to have the courage to do it. But remember, we are not alone in this journey. We have the ability, no appointment necessary, to deal with the Master Healer himself. Have to have faith, trust it. Then we got to take action. And then things will come. This is how we are starting to able to transform ourselves mentally, physically, and spiritually. It gives us a focus line where we redirect our free will intentionally. Deflect it away from ourselves. Deflect it for the benefit of another. If you were at the retreat, you on Thursday saw Dr. Gladys McGarry. Spry little 98-year-old person. Her concepts, it was right there. Body, mind, and spirit must be treated together. When we treat just one part and forget the others, then what are we truly doing? Are we affecting it, or are we treating things symptoms? Just treating symptoms. When balanced, the body will stay healthy and rejuvenate, right? To paraphrase what Dr. Amate said, how old are we? 7, right? He said we're 7 because our bodies are totally rejuvenating. I thought that was pretty cute. Dis-ease, as Cayce referred to it, not disease, but dis-ease, starts when one part of the body draws energy from another part. something's going on over here and it needs, it's taking energy away. And in essence, what happens, one part becomes overcharged and the other undernourished, and illness ensues. It's a lack of balance. And our bodies will work with each other. That's its purpose. That's what it wants to do. That's what it's supposed to do. But if we don't take care of business, and we allow ourselves to become disjointed, mentally, physically, and spiritually unbalanced, things are going to start to happen within. And when it does, the body's going to try to do the best it can. But it may not always be able to do it because your free will is not allowing it to do it. A common question in a lot of the readings regarded how much time would be necessary for me to facilitate a cure. How soon may I expect a complete cure? Answer: set the time for self, then do the things necessary to bring them about, and then expect to be well. How soon will he do these? And then we may find how soon he may expect to be well. This is the key part right here. Do the things necessary. This is the problem as well. Well, I don't want to do that. I want to go do what I want to do. May not want to do what I need to do. I want to do what I want to do. Want versus need. And Cayce, I remember one deal, he was talking about somebody who was, I want to say he was paralyzed, said, can this paralysis be overcome? He goes, absolutely. If you do what you're supposed to do for 14 years, you'll be fine. But you ain't going to do it. That's what he told him. You're not going to do it. See, that's the hard part right there. We got to do the things necessary. Then, this would be the physical. Could be also the spiritual. Think meditation, prayer. Then expect to be well. Thinking positively. You have a negative going on. You're sick. You're ill. Turn a negative into a positive. How? The brain. Think positive. Expect. Anticipate. I'm doing everything I can. I'm trusting God to do this. Why would you doubt? Because we've always been trained to doubt. This is called faith. Expect to be well. Trust. Trust. Here we have disturbing forces owing to an unbalanced condition between the purely physical and the mental and spiritual self. Reminds me of my teenage years, where I wanted to do what I wanted to do. And oftentimes there was unbalanced. The physical, driven by the egocentric forces, wanted to do what it was wanting to do so as to take care of things in the material realm, often at the expense of the mental and spiritual selves. It happens a lot. It comes down to free will being the strongest force in the universe. Knowing what we must do and then doing it. And doing things for the right reason. A lot of this, when you get into osteopathy, is the treating of the whole body, not just one element of it. And oftentimes, this is why people who were doing, the DO type of work, as well as chiropractors, were usually frowned upon by mainstream medical folks, simply because it was outside the scope. But Gladys is telling us now is that there's starting to be a revolution within the medical community, recognizing that there's more than one thing in play here. And I think we're going to see some major transformations within the next 5 years. That's the balance, that's the benefits of being her personal chauffeur to and from. You get the inside skinny. That's cool. Healing of the physical without the change in the mental and spiritual aspects brings little real help to the individuals in the end. We must recognize that we are actually spiritual bodies in a physical body. If we do the things on a physical basis, strictly worried about that, without the mental and spiritual, well, what have we done? What have we done with respect to our soul development? Have we made progress? Have we retarded? Or did we just come down here and spend lifetime and not really make any progress? Cayce's always telling us in the readings, the entity gained or the entity lost. This here seems to lend credence to entities such as ourselves losing. After I recovered to such an extent, what did I do to cause a relapse? Anybody ever had a relapse? Answer. As indicated, the poisons from the condition were relieved, but the causes were not relieved. Hence, gradually grew back again. Do these things as we find, keeping the attitude of a prayerful, meditative mind throughout. Be consistent and be persistent. Healing requires effort, which oftentimes is why we just opt to take a pill so we feel better and go on a merry way. And when we do that, are we relieving the symptoms or are we addressing the causes? I would argue that we are getting rid of the symptoms. So if we feel better, then everything's good. No problem. We just go on our way. We've got to be consistent. You can't quit once you feel better. Cayce said the same thing about exercise. Don't get on doing something and then stop. It actually does more harm to the body than good. If you're going to do it, do it. If not, you'd be better off not even starting. Consistency, persistence. One reading comes to mind, said, walk every day, rain or shine. 30 minutes a day. Towards a certain individual. Don't think it was blanket therapy, but it was pretty good. This is meaningful. In giving the interpretation of the causes and the manner of correcting the disturbances with this body, there are other things and conditions in the mental and spiritual body also that should be taken into consideration. Else, why correct a physical being or body only to use for self's own indulgence? If you're doing something for the self-indulgence, to what degree are you raising your Christ consciousness? Probably not much. We are here to learn to overcome ourselves By overcoming the world, we are overcoming ourselves. We have Jesus as a pattern. We look at what he had to deal with as it's been documented. And we see the actions that he took in the face of various circumstances. Don't really recall a whole lot of times, if any, where he put himself above others. This is a very important thing because it leads right in to this one right here. Let this be the attitude in correcting the physical forces, that the corrections are for a purposefulness towards the usefulness of self's abilities for others. Selfishness is what Cayce referred to as the only sin. If you're going to be purposeful for the intentions of doing something for somebody else, then you're doing it for the right reasons. But if it's just for you and you alone, you may get away with it, you may get what you want. But with respect to soul growth, may not be making a whole lot of progress. And then, if you're just going to do it for yourself, to what degree is true healing actually going to come around? Maybe not so much. Any spiritual advice? As has been indicated, be purposeful in self. These, as we find, are the attitudes. What would the body do with itself if healed? Promise that, believe it, do it. That is a darn good question. Oftentimes, we pray like the Dickens, oh please Lord, get me better. But we never answer this question. Why do you want to get better? What is the reason why you want to get better? So I don't feel bad. Do we ever say, I want to get better so I can go help somebody else? Maybe that's what he's saying here. Because if it comes down, if you're doing this just for the I, me, my, it's for the wrong reasons. And we see this time and time and time and time again. What would the body do with itself if healed? That's a very good question that we all need to keep front and center between the ears. I think of this all the time. Every day is a different day. How can I best be of service? And if you make it the forethought of your mind, then you're going to be quick to react. Be able to help somebody. Use your healing for yourself to get better so that you could be a better servant to all. All right. That's my side of the show. So we're going to take a quick 10-minute break right here. And when we come back, the lovely and talented Dora will come on stage and dazzle you. All right?
So take care of yourself. And I love that acronym. So that's C-A-R-E. It also reminds me of Cayce's A-R-E. So Edgar Cayce's 4 elements of good health are circulation of the bodily fluids and gases, and assimilation, that's what goes into your body, and relaxation to achieve a balance in the activities of the mind and body, and elimination, and that's what leaves the body. All very important, and they all work together in concert. So Edgar Cayce readings on improving our circulation, these are some of my favorites that I picked out. And so Edgar Cayce readings most often said exercise is not something merely to be gotten through or gotten rid of. So daily stretches, the head and neck rolls, and walks, preferably for at least 20 minutes, were all recommendations regularly given in his ECRs. And then the next one, the less activities there are in the physical exercise or manual activity, the greater should be the alkaline reacting foods taken in. Energies or activities may burn acids, but those who lead a sedentary life can't go on sweets or too much starches. These should be well balanced. And daily physical activity is important. Vigorous exercise is not needed. Walking, swimming, yoga, gardening, and dancing are all anything that you guys can adapt to whatever needs you have or whatever physical, whatever you can do. But just keep moving. And so Edgar Cayce on improving our circulation. Walking is an excellent way to improve cardiovascular and pulmonary fitness. It also reduces the risk of heart disease and stroke. Improves management of conditions like high blood pressure, diabetes, high cholesterol, joint and muscular stiffness. It builds stronger bones and improves your balance. It also, you can start slowly if you're not used to taking walks, and maybe like 5 to 10 minutes per day, and then build up to at least 30 minutes and at least 4 times a week. And actually walking can also be very relaxing to the body. And especially if you do it like at the same time every day, then it also makes a difference. This is one of my favorite exercises is yoga, because yoga is for the mind, for the body, and it's gentle exercise that can be adapted to whatever you can do. Yoga also includes deep breathing, which is really important for alkalinizing the body and just, cleansing your lungs and increasing just that, that oxygen-rich blood to all your tissues. It also improves balance, flexibility, strength, and coordination, which we all need to work on more and more the older we get. It's very important. This also decreases the risks of falls and injuries, which are very common as we get older. So, and of course, it helps you get sound sleep. There's like just endless amounts of or kinds of yoga that you can do. I do yoga at home. I don't go anywhere at all, but I've been doing yoga for a long time. And I often just pick it out of, I have CDs or, DVDs, but I use YouTube a lot. And I find all types of yogas. Like my favorite now is Kundalini yoga, because that teaches you how to like do the chakra cleansing, and it teaches you meditation. It includes like every, yoga. You could find yoga for like half an hour to an hour, just, whatever you want to do is there. But that is my favorite now. It's so relaxing to me. And you can build, you can actually find yoga that can build, you can also do for strengthening your body. So there's all kinds of yoga, and I had to include that in there because yoga is for everything. You can even find yoga on to help you with constipation. There's, you can yoga for everything and every level of expertise, from beginner to intermediate and advanced. And then, of course, there's chiropractor adjustments, and I really like the chiropractor. I never used to believe in chiropractors until I got injured one time, where I thought I had carpal tunnel, but I didn't have carpal tunnel. It was just because I was learning how to swim, and I was like, a lot older. So everyone used to tell me, you got to go to the chiropractor, and I'd say, oh, no, I don't believe in that. Until I just got so desperate. Well, I went to the doctor, and they said, well, take these pain, medications. And I said, no, I'm not doing that. So I went to the chiropractor, and in 3 visits, my pain was gone. And he also taught me how to self-massage my arm and, other stuff that can help me just decrease the, just repetitive movements that I was doing. So yes, and also you can do chiropractor adjustments, and after that you can get a massage, which is an excellent way to, get just readjusted and then relax your body and help, everything with your body. So chiropractic adjustments also aid in balancing the body's energy flows. And it brings the sympathetic and cerebral spinal functions into harmony just from adjusting your spinal column. And it also promotes a healthy lymphatic system, because the lymphatic system only moves with muscle movement. So if you're pretty sedentary, then your lymphatic system can get pretty backed up, and the lymphatic, lymphatic is where basically it cleans up, a lot of the toxins in your body, but it also promotes like your immune function. And then it also regulates blood supply, or chiropractic adjustments too. And so now we get to assimilation. This is all about what we eat and what we think. So one of my favorite readings says vegetables will build gray matter faster than will meats or sweets. So eat your vegetables. And then the foods that were most often recommended were in line with what is considered the Mediterranean diet today. So a lot of fresh fruits and vegetables and whole grains. Cayce was also an advocate of eating whole, preservative-free foods with an emphasis on fruits and vegetables and whole grains. And fish, fowl, and lamb were recommended more than red meat itself. Actually, red meat was not very much recommended. And then, so here's, so Edgar Cayce readings recommended eating like an 80-20 diet, which means 80% should be vegetables and fruits. Most all fruits except for like cranberries, plums, and olives and prunes. Those are, you know, more acid forming, but preserved and canned fruits don't count, so sorry. Yeah, they have to be fresh and wholesome. And then the acid forming foods is what, 20% of the daily diet, and that's like meats, except for beef, juice, and bone meal. And grains, cereals, and bakery products, all refined, should be 20% of your diet. And then all dairy, except for buttermilk, yogurt, and raw milk and whey, were acid forming. And all nuts are acid forming, although he did recommend the 3 almonds a day, which, you know, wouldn't really cause a lot, so. And then here's the Edgar Cayce basic diet little handout that we got. And so in the center, we have like, you know, fish, all the 80% that you're supposed to be eating. And then as you get further and further out, then that's like the last one here is basically all the stuff that probably most people eat every day now, is all the processed foods and hamburgers and hot dogs and everything in a can, in a box, or fast food is basically what we shouldn't really be indulging in at all. But I know it's almost the reverse opposite of what our diets are. And so he also talks about food combinations, which I really liked when I found Edgar Cayce, because I had learned about food combinations just from my own research and reading. And so certain food combinations are difficult to digest and may cause problems in your digestive system. So 2 or more starchy meals with the starchy foods with each meal are a no-no, because you should have 1 starch, and other than that, it just takes a lot more energy for your system to work, and enzymes and everything else that we need. So stick to 1. That means, like, you know, potatoes or rice, not 2 at the same time with whatever, you know, your main course is. And of course, this all, you know, is based on the premise that you have to have vegetables at, you know, most of your meals, at least 1 meal. And then sugary foods and starchy foods were also a no-no, which is most, you know, like breakfast sometimes, you know, people have their little donuts and such. And then milk and citrus fruit or juice should not be combined. Cereals and fruit juice should not be combined, but that's what I see most people eating for breakfast is, you know, you got to have your fruit juice or your orange juice, and you got to have your cereal or pancakes or cream of wheat or oatmeal, and yeah, those are not good combinations. You can probably maybe drink the juice first, and then after that you can have the rest of your meal, but it would have to be at least half an hour apart. Yeah. And then large quantities of starchy foods with meat or cheese are also not recommended. And then the coffee is good by itself, but once you add cream, it just kind of takes away the goodness in it. So, you know, drink it black with a little sugar, but preferably black, I guess, is where you would get most of the benefits. And that takes a while to do, I know. I drink it black, but it took me a long time to work up to that. And then he didn't recommend raw apples with any other fruit or any other foods as a combination. So, and then as far as food preparation, it's important to preserve nutrients and avoid toxicity. And so if you're going to cook your vegetables, I mean, it's always preferably raw, but there's some vegetables that are probably not going to taste very good raw. But if you're going to cook them, then probably steamed is the #1 recommendation. And preferably in their, you know, keep them in their own juices. So using he always recommended this pat-a-par paper, which I thought was like wax paper, but apparently it's a little different. So anyway, steaming them and then, you know, including the juices. I guess if you're going to steam them, you can always like save the juice and add it to maybe, you know, something else you're going to cook. But yeah, and so never fried foods. Yeah, I know that's really hard, but no fried foods. It just destroys everything. And the oil that you're going to eat, it just becomes like, you know, like the toxic oils that they're using now in all the processed foods. So you really don't want that. That causes a lot of acid formation in your body. And then using fresh, locally grown vegetables and fruits whenever possible. I mean, like in the summer, you're going to have like, you know, the watermelons and the melons, and those are wonderful fruits to eat. So, you know, like I guess we can't really get everything unless you grow your own, which is probably, you know, really hard for most of us to do. And then avoiding aluminum cookware. So don't cook your food in aluminum, because apparently there's some research out there that was done that says that some of that aluminum may end up building up in your brain and may have some, you know, correlation with Alzheimer's. But anyway, yeah, I would say like cooking in stainless steel is preferable. And then also what's big, you know, while eating your meals is your attitude and your emotions. So a lot of the Edgar Cayce readings stated that even the most nutritious foods can turn to poison if eaten while a person is in a negative frame of mind. So if you're angry or worried or extremely tired, it's just better not to eat at all and maybe do a little fast. I think I saw a reading where a couple, well, a wife says, well, I cook my husband very nutritious meals, and, you know, how's that working for him? And then he says, well, it's great, except that you nag him the whole time he's eating, so if you stop the nagging, that would help. So you might as well give him some fried food with that, because it's not going to matter anyway. And then some other things to consider when you're, you know, eating is chewing your food thoroughly. I mean, thoroughly to a pulp. Because that is the enzymes in your saliva actually start the digestion process. So, and your stomach does not have teeth, so chew your food thoroughly. And so also because, you know, one of the other readings stated that your food becomes undigested toxins in your body, and really it will. Because if you, you know, take big gulps of food and then actually you're going to invite bacteria to break it down for you. And when that happens, then the bacteria are like little tiny people that are going to do everything else you do. You know, so it's going to cause a lot of bloating and gassiness, and yeah, and you're not going to absorb all the nutrition out of it if you're just gulping it down and not chewing it properly. And I have to really think of that, because I'm a fast eater, so I have to slow it down and chew it. And I see so many people in the hospital just gulp the food down and then drink, like, you know, soda or whatever down with their meal, which is also a big not recommended, because the more fluid you take with your meals, your stomach distends, and the acid in your stomach might not be enough to break down everything in there, because your stomach is really like a blender. But putting too much water or drinking a lot of fluids while you're eating is just not really recommended. Because what that can also cause is like the backing up of food and then start, you know, like the heartburn, because it goes into your esophagus. So yeah, so it's recommended to drink like at least half hour before your meal, or wait 1 to 2 hours to drink your, you know, just water or whatever you want to drink. So yeah, drinking water away from your meals is recommended for better digestion. So also avoiding carbonated beverages. Pretty much overall, Edgar Cayce just said no carbonation at all. And I think there was one reading, and maybe Steve remembers it better, but he says, you know, someone asked him, well, you know, who should be taking, you know, or what should we do with the carbonated beverages? And he said, give them to pigs. So he really didn't, yeah, he never. Even like, just like the mineral water, I guess, would be carbonated. I don't know, but. And the Edgar Cayce reading said that the human body can last indefinitely. And if the assimilations and the eliminations were kept near normal in the human family, the days might be extended to whatever period as was so desired, for the system is able to bring resuscitation so long as the eliminations do not hinder. And I mean, yes, I know in the hospital, most people that come in will be constipated. And I mean, that's, you know, aside from whatever main problem they came in with, but constipation is always a problem, and it's a big problem, especially when people don't move and they don't drink adequate water, and then they're eating all these very like starchy, if you eat a lot of starchy food and you're not properly hydrated, it's just going to absorb more water from your system itself, so it's going to cause everything to stick in your colon and not move. So it's true. I mean, yeah, there's two big things in the hospital I see is dehydration and constipation, that both go hand in hand. And then to a 48-year-old woman, Cayce said the less physical exercise, the greater should be the alkaline reacting food taken. So if you don't move, then that's more of a reason that you should be eating more fruits and vegetables, because they're alkaline forming. And then we go to relaxation. So meditation was a #1 Edgar Cayce remedy for overall health maintenance. So yeah, the mind is a builder. for sure. And I never realized that. I used to just, when I was younger, I thought, well, you know, if I eat right and I do all this, and I work out, but I never realized how big just your mindset is just huge in your health and your overall health and maintaining it. So meditation lowers stress hormones and improves blood pressure and your immune responses. And it should be a daily practice. Like, you know, you can do it anywhere, really, sitting in nature, in your backyard or in your favorite room. I know since I started, you know, I found Edgar Cayce and the group that I'm into, and I started reading just, you know, a lot of books, and I started doing just meditation daily now, and it's helping me a lot. Even when I go to the hospital and I work and I have really hectic days, I never start my day without meditation beforehand. So I do it just before I go into work, and it really helps my day just flow. And it reminds me of why I'm there. It's not just to, you know, give people pills and, you know, their treatments. It's just to connect with people and actually give them, I mean, most people that go to the hospital are just not going to be in the best mindset. So if you can connect with them and give them a little bit, you know, just a little hope and faith and kindness and touch them a little bit, I mean, people need that more than anything else. And when you're handing out the pills, you can say, you know, oh, they always ask you, do you think this is helping me? Of course it's helping you. You have to give them hope. Yeah, and you have to, I mean, that's one of our most important roles as a nurse or any healthcare worker in the hospital, is just to be there for people when they need. A lot of people are just so lonely these days. Because nowadays, now that we have all these smartphones in our hands, it's like people are becoming more disconnected, even the elderly people. So I think touch is really important for people, and just connecting with people in any way that you can. And massage, oh God, I love massage. So yeah, so the purpose of massage is relaxation, lymphatic cleansing, and balancing of the nervous systems. And that was Dr. McGarry's, from one of Dr. McGarry's books. So massage is highly therapeutic for mind and body, and increases blood flow to tissues and relaxes the body. And it's really the gift of the healing human touch. Yeah, because we all need that. And we're not getting enough of it, apparently. Even if you're married, you might not get enough of it. Yeah. So, and then sleep, of course, that's also essential for healing and regeneration. So 7 to 8 hours of sleep per day are recommended. Some of us might need more, some maybe less. Just whatever helps you, you know, feel well rested is what you need. So, and then of course, moving and exercise is essential for sleep. So one of the Edgar Cayce readings stated that you must tire the body out if you can't fall or stay asleep. So it's like walking your dog. You got to walk the body, you got to do something with the body so that it can tire out and you can get good sleep. And then some other ways to get better sleep is not eating heavy meals before you go to bed, or late meals, not drinking fluids before you go to bed, or you'll have to wake up and go to the bathroom, and that, you know, might wake up and you can't go back to sleep. So yeah, all that will help you. And then, oh, this is another yoga that I forgot to take this slide out, but I love yoga, so I thought I could include it again. So yoga is for everything. It's for circulation, it's for assimilation, it's for relaxation, and it's probably even the most for relaxation, because that's what really, I have like this practice, so I do yoga, you know, except for the days that I go to work, I can't do it because I work 12.5-hour days, but on the other days, oh my gosh, I love doing yoga. So I'll do my yoga practice, and I do my meditation, and then I do my walk, and that is just all so refreshing, and it really helps me. Most of the time my husband will do yoga with me, but not always, because he's, you know, he says some of the Kundalini yoga I do is really weird, but I really think it's it's opening up his mind too. And then, I mean, what I see in the hospital really is like, especially the elderly population, they come in, they'll stay in bed for like 5 days. Well, they become so weak and deconditioned that it takes almost, well, physical therapists will come in and see them, but it's not the same as, you know, going to like an acute rehab where they're going to help you with your getting back to your baseline. Well, that is like a lot for people. I mean, it's a lot of money, and so what doctors and, you know, the whole healthcare team always recommend is as soon as people go into the hospital, try to keep them at their baseline, take them out walking around. Just to walk around the unit will help them. But a lot of people, you know, will say, no, when I'm in the hospital, I have to come and lay down, and we'll say, no, you have to keep doing what you were doing before, or you lose it. I mean, if you don't lose it, I mean, if you don't use it, you lose it. So you try to maintain whatever baseline function they had so that they can go home and not to another hospital where they're going to have to be rehabilitated. And so, yeah, so exercise, yoga, everything is just so important to, you know, to our health. And some of the notes on improving our overall relaxation is the activity of the mental or soul force of the body. may control entirely the whole physical body through the action of the balance in the sympathetic nervous system. For the sympathetic nerve system is to the soul and spirit forces, as the cerebral spinal is to the physical forces of an entity. And that's kind of like what Steve talked to us about earlier. So, and emotions, both positive and negative, move as electric energies through the nervous system, affecting the entire organism. So, oh yeah, I mean, emotions are strong. I mean, if you know, like if you're driving and someone cuts you off or whatever, and you just, you know, throw a fit and start cussing, well, that's going to affect you, and the person that did that to you won't even know about it. So that's probably directly raising your blood pressure and, you know, releasing all the harmful hormones that you don't need. So we have to just kind of not be so reactive. So, and worry and fear are the greatest foes to a normal, healthy physical body. And so for another patient, a reading he gave said, for thoughts are things, and they have their effect upon individuals just as physical as sticking a pin in the hand. So yeah, thoughts are powerful. And now we get to elimination, another one of my favorites, because it's such a problem. So what the readings say about elimination: in any preventative or curative measure, that condition to be produced is to assist the system to gain its normal equilibrium. And over half of the medical Edgar Cayce readings mention poor eliminations as part of the cause behind the illness in question. And yeah, again, that's what I see in the hospital over and over again. And as a matter of fact, in the morning when we do our daily assessments, we always have to ask, when was your last bowel movement? It's so important. And it's always kind of shocking to me to hear people say, well, I only go once a week. I think, oh my gosh, I mean, you are like really toxic right now. And they think that's normal, but most of the time it's not normal, and it's probably because they're dehydrated or they're just not taking in enough fiber from fruits and vegetables. So, and then the ECRs also suggested that for everybody should take an internal bath occasionally as well as an external one. So what that means is that an internal bath is like a colonic irrigation, which are really, really therapeutic too. And I never really believed in that until recently, when I started doing actually like the 3-day apple fast, which is actually very, very, very good. I do a couple of different ones, but yeah, colonic hydrotherapy is really, really good to give you just that extra cleansing that you need. Even if you have a daily bowel movements, a colonic every so often would be really good. And I've actually read like books that were written in the 1920s before, you know, everything changed, and they used to do a lot of enemas and colonics at the time, and it really helped a lot of people. Because a lot of times there's so much, our colon is one of the biggest elimination organs, and if we're backed up with stuff in there, and the stuff is not going to move like it's supposed to, and we start reabsorbing that, and it ends up back in our circulation. So yeah. And then water, the original healing tonic. So water is spirit, water is life. You drink 6 to 8 cups of water daily, or you can take your weight and divide that in half, and then those are the ounces that you should be drinking. And another one of the recommendations that I really loved about the Edgar Cayce readings is drinking a cup of warm water with a squeeze of lemon juice first thing in the morning. And that kind of flushes your system out, alkaline, gives you like a little alkaline flush. Yeah, and for me, I know daily I love herbal teas, so before I even touch anything at all, I'm going to have a cup of herbal tea. And at the very least, I'll have some, you know, like water with lemon in it. And that's what, before I even drink coffee at all, I'll do that. So also, yeah, water was recommended in various forms, like liquid and solid and gas and vapor, and that is like colonic irrigations. Again, it's a gentle way of cleansing your large intestines, and then, you know, using like the whirlpool baths or hot tubs or like a warm bath, that's always very good for you, even to help you sleep. Also like steam rooms, I guess if you have like you go to a gym, you can use the steam rooms, and they're actually a really good way to cleanse your skin, because your skin is actually one of the biggest, largest elimination organs. So you have to care for your skin also, and make sure you're not slathering a bunch of chemicals all over you. So be picky about what lotions you wear. And yeah, I got really into that again. I don't really put a lot of, I try to stick to a lot of plant-based stuff now instead of chemicals on my skin. And let's see here. And then hydration. So hydration is huge. So benefits of hydration are, promoting cardiovascular health. I mean, if you're well hydrated, your circulation is going to be, your blood can move around easier than having like chocolate in your veins because you're so dehydrated, and then drinking soda all day long, or eating a lot of other stuff we're not supposed to, because water is what's going to actually help your skin eliminate. It's going to help you sweat. It's going to help you urinate properly so that your kidneys can do their job. And also water helps keep your muscles and joints, or it actually helps muscles and joints work better. For one thing, your joints, rely on water, because the little spongy stuff between all our joints are, they're water. So if you're dehydrated, they'll shrink down too. So now if you're running around or doing whatever you do, then you're just wearing down the, the gel faster. So water also helps with that. And it also, of course, keeps your skin supple, and water helps clean your whole body inside and out. And so then dehydration. So dehydration happens when there's not enough water or fluids in your body, and your body's organs need these vital fluids to work properly. I mean, water is a universal solvent, and we need it. So untreated dehydration can quickly become life-threatening condition. And as we see, there's so many people that come into the hospital, and you end up paying a lot of money to get hydration. So hang some bags of IV fluids, and then how much are you going to pay for that when you should just, if you were just drinking enough water, that might have kept you from coming in there. And if you come in with any other condition, well, that's just going to still makes it worse, because now your body's elimination organs aren't working like they're supposed to. So we end up just giving you hydration, and then a lot of times that resolves a lot of issues, just hydration. And so symptoms of hydration or dehydration are if you're making less urine or not urinating as often as you normally do, if your urine is like really strong, like, maybe amber or dark, and constipation is, of course, goes with dehydration, and headaches are actually the most common symptom of dehydration. But also if you feel your mouth, dry, or your lips are sticky, that's like a big sign of dehydration. Feeling tired or dizzy, another sign. And we have that a lot in the elderly population. They get dizzy, they fall, go to the hospital. I mean, that can lead to just a long hospital stay, when a lot of things can be prevented by drinking enough water, which we do not do. We have to really remind ourselves of drinking water. So, and then more on elimination, helping your body eliminate. So the Edgar Cayce 3-day apple fast. Have you guys ever tried that? Anybody? You have? Wow. Oh, you have too, Steve? Wow, okay, good. So I've actually done a modified... I didn't pass it colonic. Yeah. Oh yeah, and colonics, especially if you're doing that kind of fast, because you're, like your liver's going to excrete a lot. When you drink that olive oil, it makes your gallbladder contract, and then it just kind of pulls out old bile that's in your liver and your gallbladder. Yeah, well, it's going to help you in every way. Yeah. And so then a lot of that old bile ends up in your colon. You want to get that out. I mean, whatever, your body, you help your body eliminate. A colonic is an excellent way to just give your colon an extra cleanse after that. And then, of course, the castor oil packs are great for constipation, or even just to pull out toxins from tissues. Yes. And then deep breathing, also great for the lungs, and then for improved oxygenation to your tissues. I mean, holding your breath is just, critical. This also happens in the hospital often, where, we'll have patients and they're just slouched down and they're not breathing. I mean, most of the time, if you think about it, you're probably not breathing adequately, meaning deep. So if you can, anytime you think about it, try and take a deep breath, especially if you're really stressed or you're, just under the weather. Take some deep cleansing breaths, and that's going to help you. I know that in the hospital, we'll give out those incentive spirometers, because a lot of people that just sit there and their lungs start accumulating more fluid because they're not moving anything around. So we'll give them an incentive spirometer, and that helps them just, take big, deep breaths in, and then you try to hold it as long as you can, and then you expel it out. Just like that, when we went to the retreat last weekend, or a couple of weeks ago, and they talked about the Wim Hof method, of taking the 30 breaths and then holding in your breath and then exhaling it. Yeah, that's very cleansing to the body. Yep. So, and then of course having at least one bowel movement a day. Because if you're not having one a day, that means, unless you're not eating or fasting, but other than that, you should be having at least one a day. If you're not, it's two things: you're not eating enough fiber or not enough water. Yeah. And so also letting go of your negative emotions and rumination can be highly toxic to your health. And it can, I think at times, I've noticed that people that are really tense seem to get more constipated more often. And it probably just not letting go. It's even like physically letting go, maybe can let your body do what it's supposed to, and not being so just, anxious all the time. Let's see here. Okay, so now we get to the oils and liniments, and so Edgar Cayce recommended a lot of oils for massaging, I know olive oil is his #1 recommendation for constipation, actually, which was kind of new to me. I thought it was actually castor oil, but it's not. It's olive oil. And it's taking little tiny bits of olive oil, like a teaspoon a day. And then, you know, you take it until you start having normal bowel movements. But yeah, I never knew that. It's excellent for muscles and mucous membranes also. And then peanut oil is good for massaging if you have, like, you know, arthritis, poor circulation, or tiredness. And then there's Nugel, which I've never had heard before, but it's all, I guess that one's for injuries or ligaments, strains, and sprains. Yes, and then cocoa butter is recommended for infant and children massage. And then the castor oil, of course, is for lymph flow, it's for inflammation, it's for constipation. And that one's probably more like, you know, the constipation is more the packs that you would use. I've also seen where people do the 3-day apple fast, and they'll use the castor oil pack to help the liver release more. Yeah. And anyway, okay, that's on with that. And then here's a picture of the castor oil packs. And I have used them before, and they do help. And then other notes on improving our overall eliminations is actually over half of the medical Edgar Cayce readings mention poor eliminations as part of the cause behind all the illnesses. And I think I already went through that, so okay, it's another duplicate. And so in summary, poor eliminations were mentioned in 50% of the medical ECRs, but 60% of them mentioned poor circulation as part of the cause for poor health. And there's no condition existent in the body that the reflection of same may not be traced to the blood supply, for not only does the bloodstream carry the rebuilding forces to the body, it also takes the used forces and eliminates same through their proper channels. And that's, you know, all the channels of eliminations that we just went through: your skin, which is sweating, your colon, your kidneys, and even your liver. The liver is more like it's not really elimination, it's like a giant chemical factory, your liver. And then the Edgar Cayce readings also saw massage as a great way to eliminate toxins from the lymphatic system, particularly for the inactive. Even, I mean, there's people that can't do anything anymore, so that's when massage would be a great way for them to get any kind of movement, because it moves the lymphatic, and it's a healing touch, and it's massage, and it's massaging, you know, just pretty much all your tissues. And this is the Edgar Cayce ARE Arizona website, where you can click on it and find a lot of local holistic practitioners for massage and for colonics. And what else, Steve, do they have? I know I haven't really clicked on it, but I'm planning on doing that.
Massage, colonics, mental type of health readings and things like that.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, that's what I'd like to do. And I know that I had my first Reiki massage from Peggy, and that was wonderful. Thank you, Peggy. It really made a difference, and I'm planning on getting more.
Reiki, it wasn't massage.
Just Reiki, yeah. Yeah, and that was, yeah, that was nice, and I like that, and I'd like to continue getting some more of that. It really made a difference. Yes. So any questions from you guys? Anything else?